Today we are going to handle a very interesting concept with our Be My Date application. We are going to take a look at forms, and the form that will help us the most is the registration form. So I'm going to start up Be My Date using an IDE called Atom, and I already had a registration app that was created previously using the following command: start app registration. Just to make it a little bit clearer, we are not going to run this again, but you probably ran this from the show notes. And that creates for us a new folder, and this folder has a bunch of folders in it and some interesting forms. Now we are going to change the name slightly. This was something that was created before, and we are going to borrow from a piece of code that was written some months back, and we will work with the following forms. We are going to call our form the registration form, and this registration form can take in the forms, or it subclasses the forms.form class, and in here we are going to define that we shall need a username, which is a char field, and we'll say that that's always required. Now the flag required equals true just refers to that this is something that we need. In fact, forms have something called validation, which enforces ideas, enforces constraints upon the fields we kind of declare. We'll need an email, and the Forms API has an appropriate field called email field as well, so we'll require that too. Finally, we need a password, and with a password we shall set a widget. Now this is just part of the Form API, and you can have a bunch of widgets that kind of define what certain things look like if you need only text or if you need masked out characters, this Form API will really help you out. We'll definitely require that as well. And when using when subclassing form in your custom class, you can also override the save function. And in this save function, we are going to extract the data by pulling this clean data object. And in here, we shall use, every time we create something new, we shall use the user model. And the beautiful thing about the user model is that it already comes with Django. So we shall import it shortly. And in here, we shall say that we need a username. One small thing I might mention about the self.cleaned object is that it is a dictionary, so it is a kind of dictionary as well, and it has a bunch of values that were predefined above, such as the username, the email, the password. And one small thing I've probably forgotten is the confirmation. So usually you want to confirm the passwords are alike, and we'll just do pretty much the same thing. We'll need a password input. We'll definitely require this. Wonderful. So let's go to the bottom, okay? And we'll need an email, and the email, that's how we find it. I suppose some small things have been left behind, such as a first name and a last name when we're registering for the Be My Date application. I mean, when people are going to start dating, they should probably know their names. So we'll definitely require a first name and a last name as well. Those two go up there. And just to make things a little bit prettier, we can space this out. Some of the PEP 8 rules include making sure that the next line is, you know, kind of almost in the same space as your indentation of one item. So, okay, what else do we need? We definitely need to, you know, keep track of the password, but we have to kind of hash the password. What do I mean by hashing a password? So it is not wise to store passwords as clear text. So programmers that love cryptography devised a mechanism to, you know, encrypt your passwords, and we shall use one small, you know, attribute of that, and we shall just set the value of password in there. So password, so we'll just put it here, and we shall use a special method called makePassword that we shall import shortly, and pass it our raw password, the password that we kind of typed behind. You can even see that my Pepper8 engine is complaining. So let's import that. And as usual, programmers tend not to remember these kinds of things. We already had imported user from a special module called Django contrib auth models, and we are going to import another thing from Django contrib. It is called the auth, the hashes, and it will appear in the show notes, so do not worry about cramming this. And we also need to import another method called authenticate. Now, authenticate is an interesting method. It works together with your username and password, and then adds you into what we call a session. This is something we are going to use eventually. So after we've made a password and kind of set this attribute in the existing user object or instance of the user, we have to save. And that's it. We have our quick form that will be used for, okay, so we have a bunch of errors here that I have to fix shortly. Okay, syntax error. Let's fix that. Wonderful. Okay. Let's make it a little bit pretty. Okay, that's it. So wonderful. And yeah, that's our registration form. Now the next step for me actually is to go into the views, and I already had a bunch of methods here, and I'm going to just hook up the signup method. This signup method will kind of map into our sign up page as well. And I'll right click here, make sure the sign up is actually here. Okay, it's actually there. And let's change it just so that it appears the same. Okay. And we are going to import from forms. We're going to import the registration form. Now, this registration form is something we're going to just use in here. We have to kind of make an instance of this form. And in this form, we shall pass in certain attributes because the form kind of expects a bunch of things. And it expects some kind of object. And we shall pass it whatever we pass as a post. And The interesting thing when we're defining these function-based views, this is what we're using right now, is we kind of have to test to see if a particular request is of a particular method. So every time we get a post, for example, a post just refers to submission, we do a particular thing. Otherwise, if it's not a post, we just get a plain old registration form with nothing funky in there. Okay, and a few small gotchas to watch out for. We have to first test to see if this form is valid, and we use the isValid method. So this tests to see if the form is valid, and the form can be invalid when, for example, a password is missing, or a username is missing, or the first name for our case is missing. And okay, so let's test to see if that is true. And we probably want to, redirect our pages to, maybe a dashboard view or something in that direction. So I suppose our dashboard could be our main application. And what I'm using here is a shortcut. It's called redirect. And the redirect just takes us to another page. And here, what is happening is in our redirect, we take in like the URL names. This is a concept where in your URLs, if I visit the URLs, you can see that there's this last option, name equals. So this URL has been named, meaning we can use it anywhere in our application. To be precise, we can use it anywhere in our view functions, and we can also use it in our HTML code as well, mostly to render URLs without actually having to hard code the URLs. Okay, so if form is valid, we definitely want to save the form because we don't need to do anything extra. Otherwise, we, maybe redirect back to the sign up page. Let's call it the register page. This is something I'm going to have to remember for our URL. Okay, don't forget that. Wonderful. And of course, let's handle the GET requests. Now this is the section for the GET requests. In a GET request, we definitely need to still render a particular form. So I'm going to just push that here. And in this form, we shall pass in some context variables. So I'll conveniently leave it as form. And in our sign up page, I can use something like this and say, as P for paragraph, or that kind of thing. Right now, I haven't provided templates or layouts, so it's probably going to be a section that we'll kind of cover eventually. Okay, well, I hope this kind of shows you how to work with function-based views. One small thing that I'm going to do in the next section is to hook up our view into our URLs.